Good evening. I will call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Pitimiswak Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Before we take a motion for the adoption of the agenda, we do have a special presentation that we want to do this evening with the Edson Healthcare Heroes. I'm going to hand things over to Councillor Chachka, who is the chair of the Attraction and Retention Committee, which is a part of the Community Care Foundation. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks, Mayor Zahara. As mentioned, my name is Crystal Chachka, and I'm the chair of the Attraction and Retention Committee for Healthcare Professionals. Next week is Rural Healthcare Week in the town of Edson, and in celebration of Rural Healthcare Week and our local medical professionals, the Community Care Foundation Attraction and Retention Committee launched the Edson and District Healthcare Hero Awards. We wanted to recognize the important aspects our healthcare professionals have on the lives of so many of our area residents. The stories shared by the public were heartwarming and speak to the respect our citizens have for these professionals. We had a total of 66 nominations submitted. While we wish we could recognize all of the nominees as they are all worthy of an award, we had to narrow it down to 5. The awards were created by QuickQuest here in Edson and were sponsored by the Bannister Automotive Group. There were 5 categories established, and the selection of awards considered different factors, including the number of nominations received, as well as the stories shared by their patients. To present the awards, I will hand things over to Mayor Zahara, a member of the Attraction and Retention Committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor Chachka. We're very honored to have some special guests here with us this evening who will be receiving the awards. And as Councillor Chachka mentioned, the nominations were spectacular, but only 5 were able to be selected as winners. And I have to say that it was a challenge trying to decide who was going to get these awards. So we have 5 different categories, and the first is in the category of nursing. And we'd like to congratulate Renee Kosher. Renee was the charge nurse at long-term care during the first fire evacuation and was vital to the evacuation during that extremely chaotic time. With little guidance, she remains a valuable nurse in LTC, appreciated by her coworkers, patients, families, and physicians for her knowledge and care. So congratulations to Renee. Present you with the award. We're going to do the official photos outside after we present everybody with their awards. So congratulations, Renee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our second category was under the category of healthcare aid. And the winner was Belinda Cackett. Belinda received a number of different nominations that spoke to how hard she works with her patients, her professionalism, and that she is a caring person who always seems to have a smile on her face. Congratulations, Belinda. Under the category of physician, we had a number of different individuals nominated in this category, and this one was really, really difficult to choose the winner. But somebody had to be victorious, and we'd like to congratulate Dr. Rudy Gauss. Dr. Gauss was, and this is an expert from the nomination, Dr. Gauss is my doctor throughout my first pregnancy and delivered our baby. He was amazing at always explaining everything through each step of the pregnancy and making sure we felt heard and understood every medical term. Our delivery did not go as planned, and Dr. Gauss was amazing at making sure we fully understood options and reassuring us. Coming in before working at the clinic and back after, his dedication to his patients is truly remarkable and greatly appreciated. And we'd like to congratulate Dr. Gauss. Unfortunately, he could not be here this evening as he was on call and must have been called out. So thank you, Dr. Gauss. Our next category were other professionals, and this includes nurse practitioners, chiropractors, dentists, therapists, support staff, and other professionals in the healthcare industry. This year's award winner is Marilyn Owishi. Words cannot describe the excellent work that Marilyn does as a nurse practitioner. Marilyn is compassionate, positive, knowledgeable, kind, supportive, empathetic, an effective communicator, and an excellent non-judgmental listener. She is concerned about each person's feelings and wishes and does all within her power to help them achieve their wishes and maintain their dignity. Not only does she facilitate pain management and symptom control, she also provides psychological and social care. Her support for the caregiver is superb. She doesn't offer hope for a cure. She offers reality, support, knowledge, compassion, and a listening ear. She knows the supports that are available and encourages you to seek them out. Marilyn is a gift to this community. Congratulations, Marilyn Alicia. And our final category was at the at-large category, which took all the nominations, and we had a look at all of them. And this individual certainly deserves this award. This winner in this category was chosen not necessarily because of the field they represent, but due to the amount of submissions and the impact shared by their patients. This year, we are proud to recognize a local primary care paramedic, Mike Tomiak. Mike received a number of nominations which all spoke to the level of professionalism, dedication that he has to his patients, his family, and his community. Mike resides in Edson, and when not being a paramedic, he is known for his involvement in the community and being a great sports father, never missing a practice or a game. Congratulations, Mike. So tonight we're, congratulations to all the winners. Tonight we're joined by Marcia Jensen, who is the president of the Community Care Foundation, and Mayor Wade Williams from Yellowhead County. So I thank them for being here tonight. We're going to do the official photos in the lobby. So we're just going to recess the meeting here for about 5 minutes and get that done. So thank you very much. All the award winners want to come out. All right, thank you. Once again, congratulations to all of our winners in the Edson Healthcare Heroes. And just a reminder that there will be a barbecue at the Edson Healthcare Center on Wednesday in celebration of Rural Healthcare Week. With that, Council, can I get a motion for the option of the May 20th, 2025 regular meeting of Council agenda? Go ahead, Councillor Chouinard.
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, the minutes of the May 6, 2025 regular meeting of Council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings, no presentations and delegations, no bylaws, business items under Category G. We have the Edson Housing Strategy presented by Morgan Roberts, our Economic Development Officer. Come on up, Morgan.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to provide a brief introduction tonight to the town's housing strategy before we turn it over to the project lead for ISL Engineering and Land Services. Over the past few years, we've heard growing concerns about housing affordability, limited rental options, and the lack of housing diversity for people at different stages of life, from young workers to seniors. In response, as part of the 2024 budget process, this council approved the development of a comprehensive housing and needs assessment strategy led by the Economic Development Department and prioritized in our 2025 action plan. This initiative directly supports Objective 1.2 of the Economic Development Strategy, support workforce attraction and retention efforts. And specifically, Action 1.2.1, which called for a housing strategy that identified infrastructure gaps, capacity limitations, and future growth needs. The following Following a competitive RFP process, ISL Engineering was selected to lead the project, and their work was informed by extensive community and stakeholder engagement. Over the past several months, we've conducted a workshop with council, interviews with key stakeholders, 2 public drop-in sessions, virtual focus groups with nonprofits and housing providers, as well as 2 community-wide surveys. That feedback has been instrumental in shaping the goals and recommendations you'll see tonight. The housing strategy gives us a 10-year roadmap with 5 strategic goals, 12 clear objectives, and 41 actionable items. These include recommendations for land use and policy changes, infrastructure planning, incentives to reduce development barriers, and collaboration across sectors, including government, developers, and community players. This strategy is not a standalone document. It aligns with our municipal development plan, Alberta's 10-year affordable housing strategy, and future updates to the land use bylaw. Above all, it provides framework to ensure Edson remains a community where everyone has access to safe, suitable, and affordable housing, regardless of income, age, or background. And with that, I'm pleased to introduce Chelsea Rudolph, Registered Professional Planner with ISL Engineering and Land Services, who will walk you through the final report and key recommendations. Do we have Chelsea on the line?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Would you like me to share my screen?
That would be great. Chelsea, can you introduce your team if you have them on the call tonight?
Yes, most definitely. Let me just get my screen set up here so you can see, and then I'll get started there. Can you see the slide of my presentation? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so thanks so much, Morgan, and good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. As Morgan mentioned, my name is Chelsea Rudolph. I'm a community planner with ISL Engineering and Land Services, and I am joined this evening by Cassandra Vink of Vink Consulting and Jody Ball of J Consulting Group to present Edson's housing strategy. Throughout tonight's presentation, we'll outline the purpose of the project and the process we followed to complete it, present a high-level community and housing profile for the town of Edson, identify the major data points that influence the housing strategy, communicate total housing demand, and introduce the housing strategy as a whole, some of the underlying actions, and the associated implementation plan. So the overall purpose of this project was to understand the current state of housing in the community and identify gaps to inform a strategy that will meet the needs of the community both today and into the future. This involved completing a housing needs assessment, which provides an overview of the current state of housing in the community, followed by developing a housing strategy, which establishes clear housing goals, objectives, actions, and priorities to address identified housing needs. Developing the housing strategy was completed in 2 major phases. The first involved reviewing town policies, bylaws, and background documents, collecting and analyzing data, developing population and household projections, and completing a preliminary round of engagement. This helped us understand the existing housing supply and perceived barriers and opportunities with building, accessing, and maintaining housing, which when combined result in a detailed picture of a community's demographic and housing situation. All of this information together comprises what we refer to as the housing needs assessment. The second phase of the project involved using the information gathered throughout phase 1 to develop a housing strategy framework, complete a second round of engagement to confirm project direction, and develop the specific actions that form the housing strategy. And as mentioned on the previous slide, we completed 2 rounds of public engagement for this project. The first was to help us understand the current housing situation by exploring gaps, barriers, opportunities, and ideas related to housing in Edson. This round occurred over the fall and winter of 2024. The second round of engagement helped us confirm what we heard through the first round and gather input on the draft housing strategy framework, which included goals and actions. The second round of engagement occurred in the spring of 2025. And for more detailed information on the engagement process and our findings, you can refer to the complete engagement summary, which is now available on the town's website. So over the next few slides, I will present some of the key findings of the housing needs assessment and understanding that that's really what informed development of the housing strategy. It's also important to note that this presentation of data is intended as a high-level overview and that more detailed context and narrative is provided within the housing needs assessment report itself. So the data summarized within this presentation is not to be interpreted independently from the report, and the full report should be referenced for complete understanding of the data and its respective data sources. So I'm going to quickly run through several slides with some high-level information, and then we'll get into the housing strategy. So in Edson, we know that population is expected to increase slightly between 2025 and 2029. Most households, at least at the time of completing the study, were comprised of 1 or 2 people. The majority of households were owners as opposed to renters. And 1 in 4 households in Edson did not have acceptable housing, meaning they did not meet at least one of the 3 housing standards, being either affordability, suitability, or adequacy. Edson's housing stock is primarily comprised of single detached dwellings. Most existing homes have 3 or more bedrooms. Approximately 78% of homes were built before 2001. And once again, at the time of completing the study, there were approximately 30 short-term rental units listed publicly. And I'll now dig into some of the key data points that influence development of the housing strategy. The first being the age of the housing stock, which I mentioned on the last slide. So with 78% of homes in Edson being built before 2001, this means that the housing stock overall is aging. Few homes were built in the period between 2001 and 2021. And further to this point, no permits were issued for new dwellings between 2020 and 2023, although there were some infill developments that took place. Through the public engagement opportunities conducted throughout this project, we heard that residents are experiencing challenges with the quality of the current housing stock that is available, which is a challenge that is further exacerbated by the limited number of new homes currently being built. As part of this work, we completed an ownership affordability analysis to better understand current challenges related to homeownership in Edson. A household income of $99,000 was used to calculate affordable monthly housing costs, assuming that the household is not spending more than 30% of before-tax household income on housing-related costs. This analysis identified that owner households are generally able to afford most housing types, except for single detached dwellings in some cases. But it is important to note that this finding does not consider the condition or availability of homes that are for sale, which is being noted as these factors are often responsible for increasing housing-related costs. Based on the most recent provincial rental survey, which is one of our key data sources in projects like these, average rental rates significantly increased between 2022 and 2023, but then was followed by a slight decrease in 2024. Based on historic rental vacancy rates, rental vacancy in Edson is known to fluctuate, seeing a high of 16.7% in 2016 and a low of just 1.2% in 2021. Rental vacancy rates increased by 11% between 2023 and 2024, resulting in a 12.9% vacancy rate at the time of writing this strategy. And generally speaking, we reference 3% rental vacancy to be healthy. So the significant increase within the town means that there is currently a high supply of vacant rental units available. And similarly to the affordability analysis we completed for owner households, we also analyzed rental affordability based on rental rates ranging between $900 to $1,272. Once again, assuming that renter households are not spending more than 30% of their before-tax income on housing-related costs. And for this analysis, we use median renter income of $70,500. So through this analysis, we identified that renter households making at least the median renter household income are likely able to afford the average rent for any rental units without facing affordability issues. That being said, approximately 21% of households in Edson made less than $50,000, which suggests that 1 in 5 households may experience affordability challenges when trying to access rental housing. So when we look at projected change in population and households, we know that population in Edson is expected to grow to approximately 8,629 residents by 2029. And when looking at projected households, up to approximately 490 additional housing units are projected to be needed by 2044. And I'll expand on how this value was determined on the following slides. So if we break down this approximate 490 units, we're looking at needing between 63 to 130 by 2029 and a possible additional 360 by 2044. And these demand projections were based on anticipated population and household projections, historic trends, and previous household choices. It is important to note, though, that some of these identified housing needs can be met through the existing housing supply, and that needs are not mutually exclusive. So, for example, if you have a need for seniors and a need for Indigenous folks, if you have a senior who identifies as Indigenous who gets into housing, you may have multiple needs that are addressed through that one housing unit. And we will look at the breakdown of the types of units that are expected to be needed within this approximate 490. The breakdown of owner versus renter households is expected to remain relatively similar to the current owner versus renter breakdown in Edson. We're seeing the greatest need for 1 and 2 bedroom units as we see this increased trend towards smaller household sizes. And based on current projections, the most units are needed for senior-led households and Indigenous households. And so there's a current need for approximately 447 accessible homes, between 21 and 72 units with varying levels of support, and about 45 units for residents currently experiencing homelessness. And so on this slide, you'll notice there's a current need and an additional need. And so additional needs assume that current needs have been or will be met. And so those are in additional to the current need that's stated. So that's a lot of really quick and fast information that once again can be reviewed in more detail in the housing needs assessment, which is included as an appendix to the housing strategy. But to put all this together, how do these data points and statistics translate into something actionable? That's where the housing strategy comes into play. And there's 2 core components of the housing strategy. The first being the housing needs assessment, which is what we just discussed. The second is the action and implementation plan. So we'll now discuss some details of the action and implementation plan, which is comprised of a series of goals, objectives, and actions to direct housing effort over the next 10 years. So on the screen, as part of this presentation, you can see the 5 goal statements and underlying objectives within each goal. So I'm not going to get into their details as part of this presentation, but you can review their underlying descriptions in section 3.2 of the housing strategy, which starts on page 47 of your agenda package. And over the next few slides, I'm going to present examples of some of the actions that have been included within Edson's housing strategy. This is just intended to showcase some examples, but is not intended to be the comprehensive list of everything that you'll find within the strategy. So starting with goal number 1, which is to facilitate diverse housing options, some ways that the town can support this include updating the municipal development plan to incorporate policies that support affordable and diverse housing, promoting and encouraging development of secondary suites, and developing pre-approved building plans for smaller homes and secondary suites. Goal number 2 of the strategy is to increase the supply of rental housing while maintaining the quality of existing rental units. Some ways that the town can support this include advocating to higher levels of government and local housing partners for increased rent subsidies, working with community partners and organizations to establish and maintain a platform to advertise available rental units, and encouraging local agencies to provide mediation and tenant support services. Goal number 3 is to maintain and adapt the existing housing stock. Some ways the town can support this include developing a homeowner information guide to showcase household maintenance and improvement tips, developing a home assessment program to identify recommended improvements within the existing housing stock, and identifying and promoting existing funding opportunities for renovations and repairs to existing units. Goal number 4 is to increase availability of short-term and supportive housing and related support services. Some ways the town can support this include establishing short-term and supportive housing options within Edson, collaborating with community partners to identify locations for and support the planning of emergency, short-term, or transitional housing and spaces for related support services, and engaging housing partners to establish prevention and diversion services. And last but not least, goal number 5 is to adapt housing priorities to evolving community needs. Some ways the town can support this include regularly updating the housing needs assessment and strategy when current data becomes available, regularly engaging with the community to monitor housing needs and understand current lived experiences, and developing a community education program to increase awareness of different housing types and ownership styles. The housing strategy includes an implementation plan to serve as a roadmap that describes how actions are expected to be implemented over the short, medium, and long term. We have identified leads and partners to support successful implementation and have included measures of success for the town to monitor progress. It also includes a column showing how each action connects to the current municipal development plan. Implementation timelines are expected to change as priorities, resources, and capacity change over time. It's important to note that implementation of the housing strategy is not the sole responsibility of the town or any single organization or community partner. It requires collective effort and collaboration of many partners for successful implementation over time. And the last point I want to make on the implementation plan is that the housing needs assessment and the strategy are designed to be updated once more current data is available. Typically, this would follow the federal census data release schedule. It's important that the town maintains an understanding of housing needs and revisits this housing strategy accordingly to make sure that goals, objectives, and actions are reflective of community needs as they change and evolve over time. So that concludes our high-level presentation of the Town of Edson's housing strategy and underlying housing needs assessment that largely formed it. So we're happy to open the floor to any questions or comments. And yeah, as mentioned earlier, my colleagues Cassandra and Jody are online and will hopefully help me answer some questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rudolph, for your presentation, as well as Ms. Roberts. Council, we will open the floor to any questions that you have here this evening. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Through the chair to Chelsea. My question is, I like your stats. I like all the information on there. The biggest problem that most people are facing is the cost. So if you talk to a developer in Edson, they're talking numbers 600,000 to 700,000 for a new build. And if the average income were, could have changed is 99,000, people will not be accepted to pay that. So do you have any ideas of other levels of government or something that we could help offset the cost without putting the burden on the town of Edson?
Go ahead, Ms. Rudolph.
For sure. Thank you so much for the question through the mayor to all of council. I don't have specific examples off the top of my head, but you will see within the strategy that there are lots of actions related to identifying potential grant opportunities, advocating to other levels of government for subsidies for different programs for certain things. So there certainly are many different roles within the housing system. And we acknowledge that municipal governments is just one player in this larger system, and that certain funding sources can only go so far. So yeah, certainly there are options, different grant funding programs that both homeowners can target or maybe even developers can target to hopefully help subsidize development and construction of housing. But we do know it is an issue. But we are seeing more housing money related to housing coming down through those higher levels of government. And at least from the municipality's perspective for accessing that money, often it is a prerequisite to have a housing strategy completed that identifies housing needs. So we do hope that having this project done will also help better position the town to maybe advocate for that a little bit more strongly and apply for grants and funding opportunities or support landowners or developers also to advocate and apply for those programs that are available.
Thank you, Ms. Rudolph. And just to supplement, yes, the Federal Housing Accelerator Program, there's literally tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars available, but you do need to have a strategy in place and an assessment done. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Ms. Rudolph, Ms. Roberts, and the rest of council, I want to appreciate your work putting into this report. I know when council discussed this at budget, there was a lot of discussion whether this was a worthwhile venture. I believe that it is. I think Mayor Zahara said that there's tens of millions of dollars that other levels of government are willing to bring forward to municipalities like us to address the housing issues that we have. And I think you brought up in the report that there's lots of homes for sale, in Edson. Sometimes the challenge is how much, is it affordable for one? And if it is affordable, if someone can purchase it, how much in renos do you have to put into it to make it sort of livable standard that you want? If you can get a home for $300,000 or less than $300,000, that's great. But if you have to put $150,000 worth of renos into it, that's problematic. Which leads to the question, and you bring about within the goals funding opportunities to assist with home renos. Are these from federal? These are federal programs, provincial programs that we're looking at, and anything specific that they have sort of announced that we could target, and certainly to residents in the area. I think a lot of residents in the area do want to renovate their homes, but it's the cost to do so. And if we can point them in the right direction of programs like that specifically, that would be helpful. So if you have any sort of right now that you know of, I'll just like to hear them.
Go ahead, Ms. Rudolph.
Sure. Thank you for the question, and through the mayor to all of council. There's none specifically off the top of my head that are catered towards, aging housing stock. All of the grant programs seem to be more geared towards accessibility improvements, green retrofits, those sorts of things. So there are opportunities available, but it would need to be evaluated in a bit more detail to see if those kinds of retrofits or improvements would actually address some of the issues that maybe some landowners or residents are experiencing with the housing stock in the town. So I think through the strategy, part of it is, advocacy to higher levels of government to provide those more overarching programs, like for just to deal with the aging housing stock, not necessarily specifically to accessibility or not specifically to green retrofits, but there's so much money being thrown towards new housing construction. But how are we making sure that the existing housing stock can continue to be appropriate and adequate for people to live in, right? So that's definitely a gap that we see there. There is also an element that has been worked into the town's strategy about the municipality taking a bigger role with a home assessment program, potentially finding some contractors, maintaining lists of folks who could do some of this work. So we're trying to target it from a few different levels. One is certainly higher levels of government providing, general funding subsidies to do some of this work, but maybe too there is opportunity for the town to identify some contractors, maintain a list of folks who are available or willing to come to the town to do some of these improvements, or potentially, explore a home assessment program that maybe then could be subsidized through the town to get an assessor to go explore and do assessments for residents of your community. So it's kind of twofold, but yes, trying to tackle it kind of from the top down and bottom up.
Thank you. Council, any further questions or comments for presenters this evening? Just through to you, Ms. Rudolph. You mentioned the provincial vacancy survey. That doesn't necessarily take into effect or into account any private rentals or duplexes, things of that nature. That's primarily targeted towards apartment buildings, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
As far as I know, that's my understanding. It does actually say in the data, like the number of units that they're including. So there are a variety of the different types. Like there might be some duplexes and semi-detached, but I understand that they're purpose-built rentals, not private things that might have come to market after the fact, or people who, maybe you bought your house and developed a secondary suite. It wouldn't capture those kinds of more kind of hidden rental units.
Okay, thank you for that. And this question is probably for Mr. Kitlitz. So when it comes to the municipal development plan, we have that as a part of our budget this year. Is that correct? Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, actually, the RFP for that particular project closes on Friday, so it's already up for competitive bids. So we'll get it started on it before the election and finish it up after.
And so how will this data inform that process? Like what kind of things would you be able to take out of the housing strategy?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. So obviously this sets policy direction and goals and objectives within this document that we'll use for policy development within the MDP. So absolutely it'll be considered and it'll be incorporated into that policy direction as well as other documents. So.
Thank you for that, Mr. Kitlitz. Council, do you have any further questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair to our presenters, I like what you've done here, Nat. It's really great. It's kind of long overdue. The problem that I have found is when you want to build something or you want to renovate it, whatever, and I found that when I want to do something, our contractors here in town were all over the map on what the prices they wanted to charge here and that. I know personally here, I got 3 quotes from 3 different contractors. They were out of this world on what they wanted to do and that whether I wanted to renovate or build brand new. And yet, when I found contractors wanted to come into town, they were very good at what they were doing. They were reputable. They've built in cities all over the place or whatever in the hamlets and that. And when they found out somebody else was coming in town, I got a lot of pushback and feedback that was not very nice from what we have here in town. So I don't know how we can put a stop to that or whatever. I think if the contractors here want to have their work, they should all get together, maybe get on the same page and say, okay, it's either going to be $250 a square foot, not $1,000. And maybe, there'd be more people willing to do a little more work around here and maybe want to come to our town.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bevan. Council, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, you have anything more that you need to add, Ms. Roberts? No? With that, I will take a motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make the motion that council accept the 2025 Edson Housing Strategy as presented.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much for your presentation, your work on this. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Take care, all.
And next up, we are going to move on to the Regional Tuition Assistance Bursary Pilot Program. Go ahead, Ms. Roberts.
Thank you. I'm now here to share an exciting new opportunity that will directly benefit Edson residents and help us advance some of our key strategic goals. And it's called the Tuition Assistance Bursary Pilot Program, or TAB. So this is a fully funded initiative led by the University of Alberta's Community University Partnership Program in collaboration with municipalities like Drayton Valley and now potentially Edson. The main goal is to increase the number of rural Alberta learners moving on to post-secondary opportunities. Edson has been allocated $10,000 in bursary funding, and the funds are to be used for local residents enrolled or soon to be enrolled in post-secondary or vocational training. There is no cost to the municipality, and the town has full control over how the bursaries are distributed, how many, how much, and to whom. The pilot builds on the successful zero tuition model launched in Drayton Valley in 2020, which saw strong uptake and excellent community outcomes. With council's support, we would soon be ready to begin distribution for fall 2025. So this program is more than just financial aid, it's a strategic win. First, it aligns directly with Edson's strategic plan, supporting access to education, inclusivity, and economic adaptability. Second, it offers direct economic benefit, especially in sectors where we need growth, places like healthcare, trades, early childhood education, and entrepreneurship. And third, it reflects our role as a collaborative and education-forward community, showing that we invest in our people and our future. The town would administer the program in partnership with Drayton Valley under a non-binding memorandum of understanding, and this ensures a consistency while giving flexibility to tailor the program for Edson's unique needs. We can determine our own criteria, prioritize certain fields or demographics, and choose whether to issue larger bursaries to fewer students or smaller amounts to more. There is no financial risk, and the benefits ripple through our economy and our community. In short, this is a low-risk, high-impact opportunity to support Edson's learners, advance workforce development, and reinforce our commitment to inclusive, future-focused growth. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Council, we will open the floor to questions. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks, through the mayor to Ms. Roberts. Thanks for bringing this forward. It sounds like a really lovely opportunity. My question is, do students or residents from Edson, do they have to be going to the U of A, or can they be going to an alternative school?
Through the mayor, that's a great question. They actually don't have to go to any particular university. It can be any university that they would like to go through, or any vocational school. It doesn't even have to be a university.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor, Ms. Roberts, very supportive of this program. I can see a lot of students wanted to take part in it. Plus, I love the idea of handing out other people's money. That's fantastic. Councillor Chachka already stole my question about whether or not they have to attend the U of A. It's great that they can attend anywhere because that opens the door for the program. My question is regarding the term bursary, because bursary means something else other than a scholarship. A scholarship means you have to apply for it or meet certain criteria to, or you're going into a certain field or something like that. A bursary is typically given for financial need. Is that where this program is geared towards, is looking at a financial need? And if not, that's something that I would like to sort of focus on. Looking at a person who's got a son who's a couple years away from going to post-secondary, you're looking at $5,000 in tuition per semester. It's very expensive for anyone, plus your living expenses. So if just a question if whether or not this is a bursary and it's for financial need is the focus, and if not, can that sort of be geared in that way?
Through the mayor, it has been pitched to us from the University of Alberta as a bursary program. However, with that said, it is up to the town of Edson and the people around this table to decide how you would like to give that out to the community. So if you would prefer to have it on a financial need basis, that could be something that we work into it.
Thank you. Councillor Chenard.
Part of my questions has been answered. I'm going to repeat Councillor Taylor's. I'm glad we're giving away someone else's money. So, but that was my question. Who's going to run the program? So will be council, I like the idea, but who has time to run this program is my question, or what's your idea on this?
Through the mayor, administration would run the program, and there would be conversations internally about making sure that we could accommodate the extra work.
Councillor Moore?
Through the mayor to Ms. Roberts, does this also include, say, places that aren't actual universities or colleges, like online? Is that a possibility as well?
Through the mayor, yes, it does include online learning opportunities as long as they are post-secondary opportunities.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roberts. I really like this program and this opportunity for our youth to potentially apply and get some money for their post-secondary. When do you need to know what the criteria are? And the reason I ask that is I would really like to pass this by Youth Council first to get their feedback on what they think the best approach would be, whether it's more bursaries or smaller amounts of with smaller amounts of money or bigger amounts of money with smaller applicants. What's the timeline?
Thank you. So we are hoping to have a memorandum of understanding signed by the beginning of June. So we are on a slightly accelerated timeline, but I'm confident that we could make time to speak to the Youth Council.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Hawken.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to supplement Morgan's response on who will administer it. It is correct, administration will administer this, but to make it clear, council will decide the program guidelines. But with that being said, we will be bringing forward a mid-year 2025 economic development strategy update for council, at which point, if this is approved and this is put on, that will go on to council's strategic objectives. And therefore, I want to set the expectation of the more we put on, something then probably has to move down that list. So that's something that will be coming forward to council in the next couple months, where we can drill into more of the priorities and making sure Morgan is focused on exactly what council wants economic development to focus on. So.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council, happy to bring this to the mayor, I should say. Happy to bring this to our youth council. I think we meet on June 2nd to hear their recommendations of what they think the program should be. I asked Councillor Persicny to write it down so we don't forget.
Thank you for that. And I think too, they might have some ideas as to which areas we should be targeting. I think there's opportunity. Obviously, healthcare has been a big topic around this table, but going back to the housing strategy, there's a lack of trades in our community. If anybody does want to do some building, so there's opportunities there too. So I certainly want to hear the feedback of Youth Council before we launch this program. Go ahead, Councillor Persicny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Ms. Roberts. Maybe I'm a little confused on the whole thing, and maybe you can clarify for me. This is the money's coming from, correct me as I go, but is it U of A's money?
Through the mayor, the money was actually a grant that the U of A had applied for and was successful in, and they had partnered on the grant with the community of Drayton Valley.
Okay, now if we go through all this, this is a pilot project. How far into the future will the money last? If we go this year, 1 year, and there's $10,000 spent, and how many years going forward will this money be available?
So at this time, the $10,000 allotment is for the fall of 2025, and that's all that we're discussing.
Okay.
It is possible that there could be additional grant dollars to look for 2026 or beyond, but at this point, the grant only is for 2025.
Okay, and further ask follow-up questions. Then, how long has Drayton Valley been doing this with the U of A?
I don't have all of that information. What I can say is that Drayton Valley has had their own program outside of the U of A since 2020, and they have a zero tuition policy for their community, in which they budget dollars specifically for that out of the municipal budget.
Okay, thank you.
And they also have some post-secondary availability within their community as well. So, which is why Drayton Valley kind of is on the forefront of these types of opportunities. Well, thank you for that, Ms. Roberts. So with that, I will take a motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that council support the participation in the Regional Tuition Assistant Bursary Pilot Program as presented.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Just some feedbacks. I know you're looking for some feedback here. I certainly want to, like I said, Youth Council, for me, I certainly would like to see a little bit larger amounts of money available for, as Councillor Taylor alluded to, for those that may not be able financially to support, in probably in some of those areas where we know there is opportunities for youth in terms of employment. So I don't know if Council, if you have anything more you'd like to add or discuss on that. If not, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Next up, Seniors Week Proclamation, presented by Tanya Byers, our Community Services Manager. Come on up, Tanya.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. I first have to start with an apology. I made an error when I was publishing the RFD, so you don't see it in your packages. The good news is it's fairly straightforward. It's something that we do every year. And this is just about really recognizing the wonderful commitment and contributions that seniors make to our community and to our province as well. And so I guess just looking for the proclamation for June 2nd to 8th as Seniors Week in the town of Edson. And also, as you know, every year the community development team puts a great amount of effort into partnering with all the different organizations in town. And together everybody comes up with, there's often 2 or 3 things that seniors can do in a day. And from what we hear, they really enjoy it, and they're really wiped out by the end of the week. They'd like it spread over more than just 1 week. So again, the pancake breakfast that of course you're all welcome to attend is on June 5th. So hopefully you can make it to join us to serve the food and such and interact with our seniors.
And they always make a point during the pancake breakfast saying, I'm so tired, I got so much to do this week. So that's great to hear. Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
I was just ready to move it if you're ready to. Go ahead, sir. I would move that council proclaim the week of June 2nd to the 8th, 2025 as Seniors Week in the town of Edson.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't go anywhere yet, Ms. Byers. Next up, we have the FCSS Advisory Board grant recommendations. And we have Ms. Byers and Ms. Diane Chomiak, our FCSS Board Chair. Welcome.
Good evening. Oh, yeah, I'm on. So yes, once again, I'm here to talk to you about the FCSS Advisory Board grant recommendations. Do I need to do anything to this guy? Yep. All right. So I'm going to go through the application summaries and recommendations. This year we were very fortunate that we had a budget of $22,300. I think we were all very relieved to see that because we knew we had a fair number of applications. We had 9 this year, requesting a total of $26,800. So Yellowhead Emergency Shelter for Women's Society, their project, Edson Family Violence Prevention Group, they requested $5,200 and we recommended that they receive that amount. Hinton Adult Learning Society, FASD, so FASD Awareness and Support in Edson, they requested $3,500 and that is what we recommended. Community Engagement Action Team, awareness cards for Edson Resiliency event. They requested $500, which we recommended giving them. Next, we have the Settlement Services, Edson and District Community Learning Society, Exploring Culture. They asked for 1,600, which is what we recommended to give to them. Next, we have the Lions Club of Edson, Mustachio Babachio, fun to say. 1,500 requested, and that is what we recommended to give them. Edson United Church, volunteer coordination for the United Trinity Community Kitchen. They asked for 2,500, and we are recommending giving them 3,750. Next, we have Edson Food Bank Society, the volunteer coordination and retention. They asked for 5,000, and we're recommending giving them 6,250. West Yellowhead Pregnancy Care Center, school presentation for healthy relationships. They asked for 4,000, and we denied their application. And then we have the Edson Homelessness Task Force, their poverty prevention research project. They asked for 3,000, and we denied that application. So I'd like to just touch base on some of our thoughts there. So for the Homelessness Task Force, the project outcomes lacked clarity, and our board expressed concerns about the feasibility of their plan. Since the publication of the FCSS Advisory Board recommendations to council, the task force has actually withdrawn their application. Next, for the West Yellowhead Pregnancy Care Center, so the advisory board reviewed their application, and we determined that the proposed service is actually already being done by Alberta Health Services. So in accordance with FCSS regulations, which prohibit the duplication of existing services, that application was denied. And then, as we know, food security, insecurity actually keeps increasing in our area. The board chose to allocate additional funding to two organizations, as you notice, the United Church, their community kitchen, and the Edson Food Bank, beyond their original request, recognizing the critical need for support in coordinating their extensive volunteer networks, with food security becoming an increasing concern in our community. Maintaining strong, well-supported volunteer infrastructure is essential to ensuring continued service delivery and meeting the growing needs of our residents. So with that very quick synopsis, I thank you for your attention, and are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Chomiak, for your presentation this evening. Council, do you have any questions? You did answer my question about giving organizations more money than they requested, but I totally agree that is one area that there's a huge need for right now, so I appreciate the FCSS's board's recommendation on that. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council and to Ms. Chomiak, thank you for the presentation. As I sit on the FCSS board, we sat down that night and went through so many worthy applicants, and you spoke to this, is that this year we had $22,300 to sort of give to local organizations. That's an increase of $10,000 from last year. Without that increase, this would have been an agonizing decision, as so many of these groups would probably have either seen a massive reduction in funding or no funding at all. So that's something to consider, because I do think we're going to see this number of applicants in future years as something that sort of happens. So I also want to say thank you to the FCSS team, as they do try to work with the applicants. Not everybody is equipped at applying for grants. And spending that time it takes to walk people through, what the criteria and the specifications of the grant is so important. So I want to thank Tanya and the FCSS staff for spending that time with some of the applicants to assist them through that process now and in the years to come. So those are my comments, and very supportive of the applicants receiving money and the FCSS recommendation.
Thank you. Council, any further questions or comments? One of the comments I was going to make is that some folks may not be aware, but Yellowhead County does have programs available for organizations to apply to. And one of the things is, if they are, say, an organization in Edson or an organization based out of Hinton, they can apply to the county for funding. But if they do get funding from the county, it is reliant on the municipality where that base of that organization's from to also match that funding. So I do know that some organizations in town will actually benefit more, because they will be able to duplicate the amount of money that they're getting from the county as well, so which is a great regional partnership. So Great to see the recommendations here. Council, I will take a motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I move that council approve the Family Community Support Services, FCSS, grant total of $22,300 as presented.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, first quarter financial report 2025. Mr. Tyler Goebel, Finance Manager, come on up. What we'll do is we're just going to take a 10-minute recess while you guys get set up. That works. Thank you very much. And we will hand things over to Finance. Go ahead, Ms. McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present the quarterly financial statements for the 3-month period ending March 31st. The audit work is continuing, therefore the balance sheet is excluded at this time. Tyler Goebel, for our Finance Manager, will present highlights to the income statement by object and then by department. Council will be given an opportunity to ask questions at the end of each page. So I'll pass the mic to Tyler.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity tonight to present Town of Edson quarterly financial report. So the first thing I'd like to draw your attention to this evening is the user fees and sale of goods line, which is highlighted there. It's sitting 26% of budget. I'll actually draw your attention to another line near the bottom where it says rentals and leases. And we had actually miscoded some expenses to that line. So the user fees and sales of good is actually sitting at about 27% of budget and is tracking on budget for year end. Some of the major items included in there would be utility sales and leisure center, things like arena admissions and ice rentals from some of our local user groups there. Investment income sitting at 21% of budget. It looks like it's tracking a little under budget. However, The current return on investments is sitting at 4%. And just to benchmark that, the Bank of Canada overnight rate is 2.75%. And that's the rate that is used to benchmark deposit interest. So we're currently outperforming the benchmark rate for that. And that's thanks to the work Ms. McDonald did back in December to lock in higher interest rates before they started to decline over the past few months. So we fully expect that number to be on track by the end of the year. And as we collect more cash throughout the year, as we levy our taxes, we'll work on an investment plan to ensure that we meet our target investment income for the year. Moving on to licenses and permits. So that one looks a little bit out of place because it's sitting at about 79% of budget. However, these are recurring business licenses and dog licenses that are billed in January. So the majority of those revenues are already billed to date. The remaining 80% of the budget would be related to seasonal business licenses, new pet licenses as people acquire new pets, and then permits, development permits that would be applied for throughout the year. And we'd expect to see those more in the summer months anyway. So moving down into our expenditures area. So one line I want to draw your attention to are requisitions, which are sitting at 35% of budget, which looks like it's tracking a little over. However, that reflects quarter one installment for school requisitions, as well as evergreen capital and operating for our seniors housing. The evergreens are paid in full in one lump sum, whereas the other payments are made in quarterly installments throughout the year. So that's why that one's tracking a little higher than budget, is because we've already made those payments and don't expect to, for the rest of the year, make any other payments. So we expect that to be on budget. And the last item I'll bring your attention to here is transfers to local boards and agencies. And this is basically comprised of grants we're giving to ECHO, which is Red Brick, Edson District Library, as well as Galloway Museum. That one looks like it's tracking a little bit over budget at 31%. However, the library installments are made in third installments rather than quarterly. So that's why that one looks a little above target, but we are making payments in line with the budgeted schedules, and we fully expect to be on budget at year end. So I'll just draw your attention to the total revenues that we're sitting at for the year. Year to date is $2.8 million against revenues, or excuse me, of expenditures of just over $7 million, which is resulting in a $4.2 million deficit. And that's mainly just driven because we haven't levied our tax rate yet. So we expect those revenues to jump once we've levied that in. We've actually just sent those notices out in last week on May 15th. So we fully expect to see those rectified and that deficit disappear in quarter two. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Council. Any questions on this page? Seeing none, we'll continue on.
Perfect. So now we'll just move on to a different type of income statement, and this is presented by department. So the first item I'll draw your attention to is general administration, which is sitting at only 2% of budget year to date, and that ties to my previous comment about levied tax rate in May. So we just haven't levied our taxes. So that's why a big chunk of that revenue sitting there, about 19 million of that, is from taxes. So when we levy that amount, we fully expect that to get back on track for year end. The next item I'll draw your attention to is utilities line, as that's sitting at about 23% of budget. So it looks like we're tracking a little bit under. However, we do expect utility consumption, as this is water consumption, to increase in the spring and summer months. So we expect that this utility revenue would be in line with budget by the end of the year. On the expenditure side, I'll bring your attention to general administration, which is sitting at 26% of his expenditure budget year to date versus only 2% of the revenues. And this is just a reflection that we are currently obligated to pay our school requisitions before having even collected the tax from our residents. So this number seems inflated, but it's reflecting that we've already had the cash outflows for those, but not received the cash in from our residents in that regard. Public health and welfare, sitting at 25% of budget year to date. And just for some clarity, this department includes FCSS, our public transportation, which is Move Edson, our cemetery, and our doctor's housing and our medical center just across the street there. And we are expecting those figures to track on budget. And lastly, the culture line, which is sitting at about 33% of budget year to date. And that's almost exactly where we would expect that to be, as this ties back to my previous comments about the grants to various community organizations like the library and the museum, which are sitting at about 33% year to date. So we fully expect those to be on budget at year end as well. And just to tie out these two statements, you can see that the revenues are the same, 2.8 million against 7 million of revenues, and then the total deficit of $4.2 million, driven by the same things that I had discussed before, where we haven't just levied our tax rate yet. Did we have any questions?
Council, any questions? Continue on.
And I'll just pass it back to Ms. McDonald for some discussion on income statement by fund.
Thank you, Tyler. For council's reference, we've included the details for the 3 pillars for municipal reporting to illustrate taxes support taxes, utilities support utilities, and land sales support land expenses. These roll together into what Tyler's already reported for the income statement. So we haven't done any variances. We're just sharing it for information purposes. So they'll pass it back to Tyler to review the reserves.
So let Denise catch up. Ready to go? Thank you, Denise. So just as an overview of our reserves, I'll draw your attention to the first 2 columns of this, and you'll notice there's actually no change. And this is a reflection of our year-end numbers. December 31st are still under audit, and there's been very little capital project activity in the first quarter, which is to be expected. So you can see that those reserve numbers haven't changed because we haven't done any transfers to or from reserves to reflect those projects. However, the final column, December 31st of 2025, is where we expect our total reserve balance to be at year end, being $32.7 million. And that reflects all of our budgeted contributions to reserves, as well as from reserves to fund our capital projects. Of course, we won't know those final numbers until the actual project numbers come in, but this is just to illustrate where we expect to be at the end of December of 2025. Finally, in reference to our reserve policy, the Finance Department has verified that the reserve balances are funded by demonstrating that cash and investments are greater than our total reserve balance. So we have total liquid assets, so cash and investments, $37.3 million against total reserves just under $37.1 million. So as at March 31, 2025, we can demonstrate that all reserves are adequately funded. I'd also like to draw your attention to the date there. It says March 31, 2024. That's just a typo. And I can confirm that the figures you see there are as at March 31st, 2025, not in the prior year.
So we just go back up to reserves just for some clarity. So under your restricted reserves, under offsites, it shows that we are in a negative balance, and that is primarily due to us prepaying for offsites at Hillendale. Is that correct, Ms. McDonald?
Thank you, Mayor, for the question. that is for offsite levies, whether it's specifically for that particular development, or I am not confident I know the answer for that. I'd have to research that. However, it is for development that prior years we have utilized funds to develop areas, and therefore it's in the negative until sales happen. And as sales happen, then that fund will be replenished.
Okay, thank you.
So the next section that, excuse me, that we'll move on to here is a capital project update with work in progress reporting. So this list just outlines, you'll see in the project status column, we've outlined various categories of status from not started to in progress, complete, in design, just to give you an idea of where each project is currently sitting. And then we also have actuals sitting in the middle column against budget year to date. So looking at the general government, we have no actuals year to date. Those projects haven't quite broken ground yet. Protective Services has $753,000 of actuals. Most of that is driven by a deposit and a progress payment on the aerial fire truck. Transportation Services just sitting at under $200,000 of actuals. And that's mainly driven by the Wass Creek project, which had a significant acquisition of lands to get that project underway, which happened early in 2025. So that's where the majority of those costs are sitting now. Environmental Services sitting at about $37,000 of costs, and most of that is driven by the Waterwell 30 connection to the Town Distribution Network project, which is in progress. Social Services, $30,000 year to date, which is the Moving Edson Accessible Bus Capital Project, which is currently in progress. And lastly, Recreation and Parks projects, $597,000 of costs year to date, driven by the payment and delivery of the ice resurfacer, which is complete and came in under budget of about $22,000. And lastly, the YC Multiplex project, which incurred about $432,000 of costs, and we expect that to be much higher in Q2 and Q3. This brings our total expenditures on capital projects to date of about $1.6 million against $43 million of budget, and we expect a lot of those projects to tick up in Q2 to Q4. And lastly, just some background on existing and projected debt payments. You can see our debt projection here. Our existing debt is in the dark blue on the bottom. And you can see over time, as we're expecting to draw funds for the fire truck, Township Road 532 project, and the YC Multiplex project, how we expect those that debt to rise and be paid off over time. Something that's not illustrated here is our debt limit, which as of today would be sitting at about 20% of our capacity. So that provides us with adequate room to be able to borrow for the projects, which I've noted above. And lastly, there's just a table that outlines our current borrowings, including capital leases, as well as the particulars behind those loans and the principal outstanding as at March 31st of 2025. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Goebel, for your presentation, and Ms. McDonald. Council, do you have any questions? Lots of numbers, lots of data. All right, well, thank you very much for this very detailed report. I do really appreciate the financial reporting that we are getting from your department. It's detailed. It provides council with really good information to understand our financial position throughout the year. So thank you very much. And with that, council, I will take a motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move that council accept the quarterly financial report for the period ending March 31st, 2025 as presented.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? The only other comment I would have is on the reserve balances, seeing that they are fully funded. As we have noted previously, many communities have large reserves on paper, but they don't actually have the cash in the bank to pay for those reserves. So we're in a really good position that way. So appreciate that. With that, I will take, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up, Mr. Barisco, Fleet and Utilities Manager on the Backflow and Sump Pump Program.
Good evening there, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So I just wanted to obviously bring everything back to you guys sooner than later. So it's just a quick little update on the backflow and sump program. And it's also just to address the issue that council had a few meetings ago with the removal of the 14th Ave project to B1. So how's that thing supposed to work? There we go. So just for some context on that, highlighted above is that main sewer line that was removed from the project. So in between the two arrows, the stars are actually showing the 4 houses that are affected by the removal of the replacement of that line. So just a quick little, while I've got your attention, a little bit of a background of where we've been in the program since you guys have endorsed it, since our pilot 2023. So that first year we seen 25 landowners, and obviously back then we only had the backflow prevention program, not the sump pump, so that's why there was only 25 in 2023 that took advantage of the program. We reimbursed $35,000 back then. 2024 we seen a little bit more of an increase, about the same. We had 15 landowners installed just the backflow prevention valve. We had 12 that just did the sump. And we had 11 that basically both did the sump and the backflow together. With that, we spent $88,000 out of $100,000 back in 2024. So now currently, fast forward to 2025, as of May 12th, we have spent $16,602 so far. So when we looked at basically the average cost to put a sump and a backflow prevention is approximately about $5,000 per household. So obviously we give back about 50% of that one, so that's $2,500. Now, as you can see, the recommendation in the RFD for the residents that were listed in 14th Ave, we're recommending that council gives back 100%, which would basically have an impact on that budget of about $20,000 potentially. So that would mean that we'd be spending approximately $36,000 out of that budget of the $100,000 that we have left into it. Which roughly could equate to about another 25 homes still to take advantage of the program. I did a quick little check with our admins this morning. We have about 2 pending so far in 2025 that are in the process of getting either one or the other. So potentially that could still leave another 23 homes if it's funded for the 14th Ave residents that still can take advantage of the program for this year. So obviously we have a recommendation, which you guys are aware of in the RFD. I won't go into detail on that one, but I can go right away into questions and concerns or comments on the program.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Bevitt.
Through the chair, the representative here. After the people have installed the backflow preventers, has anybody ever come back and asked us to put in a sump pump? And if they would get reimbursed for something like that too, because it was either or just both at one time?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bevan. We've had a few that have asked, and actually I've got quite a few that have done the program and actually haven't come back for reimbursement yet, but we have had a couple and we just said come back to council. I believe I actually have entertained a few of them just because I believe in the program. Other than, if everything's been installed properly with the sump and the backflow preventer, people haven't flooded after that. Like, we've had some really good feedback of that. There's still a few more people obviously that we'd love to get into the program because we know there's a lot of houses that are out there. But I really, appreciate council's support and what it's done for a lot of the residents. It's had a really good feedback for us.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council and administration, specifically to Mr. Briscoe, thank you for bringing this back to council so quickly. I think Councillor Chachka had mentioned in our previous meeting that this is something that we'd like to get on sooner rather than later. I'm supportive of the motion on the agenda for 100% reimbursement to these residents. These residents have faced a lot of hardships in this area, and although we are spending a lot of money in that area to sort of mitigate these issues, obviously there was some, I don't want to say controversy, but still some hesitation about taking one section out of the plan in the B1 project. So supportive of this because it gives them peace of mind. And at the same time too, we want to be selling homes in our community. I said this a few weeks ago, and we have to be shown as to be supportive to our residents when they're looking at things like this. And if if we're not being supportive of residents, we're not selling homes in our community, period. So that's why I'm supportive of the motion that's on the agenda. The only thing I will add that if we end up getting, like a lot of applicants, you say 23, and we get near the budget total, and there are still other residents that are pending that would still like to become a part of the program, I would again like to ask administration to come back, and if council needs to approve more funding for this program, I'd be certainly supportive of that, because as you say, we're getting great feedback from residents. I think it's a win for everybody in the community. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, Councillor Taylor took most of my statement. I do support the 100%, definitely. By removing that pipe, we put that fear back in there, even though the engineers are confident. So I do like the fact that we're coming with 100%. And to echo Councillor Taylor as well, if we tap out in this program, we are having a fair bit of cost savings by removing a chunk of that project. So there's an opportunity there if we do have oversubscription of this program, that I definitely would support that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? I just echo what has been said here, and I also too, I think people don't realize they may need this program until it's too late. And unfortunately, for some that are here in the room today, they've experienced that firsthand. And I think that providing that 100% support reimbursement will ease some concerns about removing that section of the B1 project. I do think we need to do another round of promotion of the program. I am certainly in support of increasing the budget in this area. This will save the community millions of dollars of future infrastructure work if we can get everybody's weeping tiles off the system, if we can get people on the sump pumps, and making sure that everything is tied in correctly. And as it was mentioned, I wasn't here at the meeting here a couple weeks ago, but finding out what those infiltration issues are on the north end of Tiffin, I think will be helpful as well as all the work that we're doing on 13th and down to 52nd Street. So I'm in support of this. I do want to thank your department for your work on this. Utilities have been very responsive to community concerns and responding to those emergency calls when they do come in. So appreciate that. Council, can I get a motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I move that council approve 100% reimbursement of sump pump and backflow preventer installation at addresses 5429, 5423, 5417, and 5413, all of 14th Avenue. This applies to new equipment installation on the program, reimbursement, previous installation of equipment at these addresses.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up, Mr. Wagstaff, General Manager of Community Protective Services, on the YCE Multiplex Project Budget Update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to begin with, it's been a number of years. For some people that has drug on, for others that has flown by. But following many years of debate and facility studies, the renovation and expansion of the Edson and District Leisure Centre began to rev up in September of 2023 as GEC Architecture was selected as a prime consultant and the architect to work with Tango Management to realize the project through design and construction. The past year has advanced, work has advanced as we started, because in January of 2024, selecting Clark Builders was the construction manager, was selected as the construction manager. That year, again, for some has drug a little bit, and for others has flown by. The work of the town of Edson and Yellowhead County with this team of consultants has brought together many years of effort to bring forward a viable solution for the community. Through the revitalization and expansion of the YCE Multiplex, we are not only investing in the present well-being of our community, but also laying the foundation for a bright future. The upgraded facilities, enhanced programming, and modern amenities will cater to an evolving needs of our community, ensuring that future generations have access to a space that promotes health, wellness, and social interaction. Today is an update on the YCE Multiplex project, focusing on the revised cost plan and the funding gap that has emerged. Clark Builders has submitted an updated cost plan for the YCE Multiplex, reflecting an increase in construction costs since the previous cost plan submitted in November 2024. I'm just going to clean, okay, yeah, I'm in the right spot. Thank you. Cost Plan 2, as you can see here, indicated a construction cost of $73,322,341. That included a 10% contingency, bringing the total project cost to $83.09 million. Considering at that time the contingency provided enough that it was still within target, awaiting for some truer cost certainty. Cost Plan 3, submitted in April of 2025, shows the construction costs increasing to $97,097,225. That still includes a 10% contingency. This brings the new project total cost to $86,770,000. The approved budget in April of 2024 was $80.24 million, which now results in a funding deficit of $6.53 million based on the updated cost plan. Despite these factors, the 10% contingency has been maintained to mitigate risks related to market conditions and potential tariffs, which I'll speak to in the next slide. Typically, at this point in a project, a contingency would carry only about 5%, but it is being recommended from our consultants and the project team, as well as the steering committee, to continue to carry a 10% contingency to offset market conditions that are existing that typically in the past have not presented projects of this kind. What are those factors? Market conditions. Several factors have contributed to this increase in the costs, market conditions being the primary piece. Commodity pricing, exchange rate fluctuations, and an ongoing labor shortage have all driven up some of the construction costs. Trade tariff risk. It's not that we're feeling trade tariffs directly, but we're still looking at the fact that there are future trade tariffs that could increase costs after tender awards. The timing and magnitude of these impacts remains uncertain across all industries, but especially that in construction. Design development. One of the largest components in change since April of 2024 has been the gymnasium design, which in April of 2024 was still in conceptual phase and now has been further developed, resulting in a higher than estimated cost originally. And again, I just wanted to point out that the 10% contingency has been maintained to mitigate these risks as related to market conditions. There's also been some scope additions. A new $600,000 firewall addition is required to meet requirements and address fire suppression risks in the existing facility. This has combined into the increase in the budget. So I think I'm just going to check again. I may have lost my spot there. There we go. I hit twice before I looked up. I'm like, where did that slide go? Thank you. A little bit of an update on the procurement and tendering, a little bit more detail from last week. Several tenders have already closed, including those for tree removal, site stripping, site demolition, site services, and concrete pilings. These activities are progressing as planned. Upcoming tenders include concrete and reinforcing steel, mechanical and electrical equipment, building envelope with steel and superstructure, as well as then the remaining scope that will be released in June 2025. At the end, once tender package 5 closes at the first week of June, we expect to have improved cost certainty on the project. At that time, we recommend committing to the total project to minimize the risk of ongoing market fluctuations. What will have occurred in this project by that point in time is the greatest risks will have been dealt with at that point in time. The remaining part of the scope is not as susceptible to tariffs or fluctuation in U.S. U.S. exchange to Canadian dollars, because those pieces are being things that are able to be sourced within the domestically and are not going to be as susceptible to those sorts of fluctuations. At this point, I would like that was my comment there, sorry. These risks that are outlined here are the things that we're looking at, and our consultants are ensuring that they are very well aware of and keeping an eye on mitigating those risks as they continue through. Now I'd like to turn it over to Chief Financial Officer Denise McDonald to take us through the revenue sources to date and from the original budget to the proposed.
Mr. Wagstaff, to council, I want to propose to you the original budget is the second last column there that has been on the books at least since I've been here for sure. The town's contribution from reserves is 12.7. That will not change from that original amount. Oh, I apologize. It will change. It'll increase by 645,000. This 12 million that's already been established has been set aside for this project, and we have put money aside at year end as well as budgeted contributions for the $645,000 to top that reserve up to cover the extra costs incurred in the budgeted capital work. MSI is fully committed to this project, and the local government fiscal framework grant, it's actually called fiscal framework for that, and it's a provincial grant, and we have not allocated any projects out of those funds to date. We had been holding it aside in the event that we required it for this project. And so we have some additional funds with a small caveat to ensure that the province cannot fund more than 20% overall on this project because it's an ISIP federal grant. So I have a meeting with the province to just clarify what does that mean for us, and can we allocate the full 2.5 to the project. That will also include the 9 million debenture, so that the total costs for the town of Edson will increase from 30.1 million to $33.3 million. And the county is matching that increased contribution.
Based on a thorough evaluation of program Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Based on a thorough evaluation of program options and input from the steering committee, it's recommended to move forward with a full program design, which includes a new pool, new arena, new gymnasium with an elevated walking track, renovations to Centennial Arena, repurposing of Memorial Arena to a curling facility at an estimated cost of $86.77 million. To conclude, we are facing a funding gap based on the updated cost plan. We have maintained a contingency to mitigate risks associated with market volatility. The decision on the gymnasiums moving forward will ensure that the project remains on schedule and within a manageable budget. There has been an amended motion from what was reflected in the package. This reflects existing sources between reserves and grants of the fiscal framework, local government fiscal framework. The new motion would read, the council approve an increase in the YCE multiplex project from 80.24 million to 86.77 million, with increased town funding of 3.265 million. 645,616 funded from YCE multiplex capital reserve, and 2,525,940 from the local government fiscal framework grant. And that is the update of the YCE budget. Mr. Mayor, I'd be open to any questions from yourself or council.
Thank you, Mr. Wagstaff, for that. Council, happy to open the floor to any questions. I'll just supplement Mr. Wagstaff a little bit from a steering committee perspective. A lot of work has gone into reducing costs where possible in this project. Value engineering, design work is done. For example, I know there's been a little bit of controversy about the parking at the facility. By choosing where we have chosen to do the parking, we're saving $500,000 to $1 million by not having to build a supplemental parking lot and using the existing sidewalk along 48th Street. These are all ways that we've been trying to push the cost of this project down. As we have seen through this project and other projects in the past, no matter when you choose to do something, there's always increased costs and there's always challenges that are beyond our control. So, we're getting to a point where we're going to be tapped out on this project. But I think going into this, we always knew that there would be some challenges. As Mr. Wagstaff alluded to, over the next couple of weeks, we'll have a further indication as to where we are on the budget and hopefully have some more confidence in terms of what those numbers are going to be. I firmly am committed to seeing this project as was set out in the beginning with a full gymnasium scope. Losing that would mean we'd be losing a walking track as well, and then I would question why we're actually doing this project. So I will open the floor to questions. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council and administration, no questions, just going to give my comments, obviously. And I appreciate what Mr. Wagstaff mentioned, that for some, this project has drug on. It's important to say that out loud for some residents in the community who feel this project has gone on for quite some time. Obviously, we're seeing realization now, which is great. And you also have to acknowledge any residents that are feeling it, that we are now increasing the budget again, and you have to acknowledge those residents' frustrations, right? And I hear those frustrations too, because this has gone on for a long time. This kind of project, this types of projects has been talked about for some time, and this project itself has been talked about since before I came on council this term. And where we started with our budget and where we are today is certainly an increase. So that being said, I do echo what Mayor Zahara said. I'm committed to this project, and I'm committed to seeing it through. We're in it now, and we're in it to the end. Yes, when you look at the budget that was presented, yes, by cutting out the gymnasium, you could save money. However, it has been said time and time again that gymnasium space is at a premium in our community. And you look at the schools and they are jam-packed with how many sports teams they have. I'll say this to the community: we build a gymnasium to this multiplex, it will be very used. I am not interested in cutting that piece out. I'm seeing this project, the whole project, through to the end. Obviously, we want to do our best to stay on budget into the future. But again, important to acknowledge people's frustrations, but I'm committed to this project and seeing it through. Those are my comments.
Council, any further questions, comments? Steering committee members, go ahead, Councillor Chochka.
Thanks. Through the mayor to council and administration. I echo what Mayor Zahara mentioned about the committee working to reduce costs where we can, where it makes sense, without compromising the integrity of the project or the scope of the project. I'm certainly committed to the full scope. And I just was wondering if Jim Wagstaff could, I know we talked about this at the committee level. I don't know if we talked about this at this level, that with the tariff threats, and normally we would reduce the contingency from 10% to 5%, and what we've observed with, I guess, the domestic market and pricing with the tariff threats and what are being proposed by the Canadian government as well, and just kind of what that's done to our current market regarding pricing.
Thank you for that question, and through the mayor to all of council. Again, I just wanted to sort of reiterate that there has not been tariff impact. What is the threat of and the uncertainty in the market with regards to the American administration and the North American construction market? Typically, a project like this, as Councillor Chachka had commented, you would reduce your contingency from 10% to 5% at this point in the project. However, given that unprecedented uncertainty in the market, it is being recommended that we hang on to that 10% contingency at this point in time to mitigate any potential that way.
Thank you, Councillor Posichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to council. A couple of things to maybe mention too is the committee went to great lengths to ensure that we were looking for every cost savings we have. And the statement that was made a lot was we're looking for function. We're not looking for fancy. You know, don't bring us curved walls. Don't bring us expensive items. Bring us an extra gymnasium. And here we are when we were faced with, do we remove it to try and save budget? The committee talked about it at great lengths. There's a huge factor in there that would also impact us, and it would also delay things further. So yes, the budget's going up. Essentially, we're asking this council to stand behind the committee's decision to keep the project as is and increase our budget on it, and that's what our motion here today is about. But it would have delayed us further because you'd have to remove things from bidded items. So it's to keep things on task and to get us some great value adds in this facility within our community.
Thank you. I will also further comment wherever possible too. Our contractor is trying to source things through Canadian vendors. That's been discussed at length, as well as you'll see there in the tender packages that Mr. Wagstaff showed, is purchasing things ahead of time, which is really important. If we can find a cost savings by buying it ahead of time, we're going to do that. A number of our folks here in town have offered storage space for that, and so our contractor will be doing that as well. If there's a way to save some money, we're certainly going to do that. So, Mr. Wagstaff, I think you go on final slide before I take the motions here, so go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, as you're about to take on some of the serious business, I would like to add a little bit of the celebration factor, is that tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, we are doing a groundbreaking. So together with the Yellowhead County, Town of Edson, their councils and administrations and staff are going to celebrate with the community the advancement of this project by shovels in the ground. So 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, if anyone would like to join the two councils and the administrations with that groundbreaking at the Leisure Centre.
Thank you very much. With that, council, I will take a motion, please, that council approve a program design for the YCE Multiplex project, which includes a new pool, new arena renovations, Centennial Arena, repurposing Memorial Arena to a curling facility, and inclusion of a gymnasium and elevated walking track at an estimated cost of $86.77 million. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I so move.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get a motion, please, that council approve an increase in the YCE Multiplex project budget from $80.24 million to $86.77 million, with increased funding from the town coming of $3.265 million, $645,616 funded from the YCE Multiplex Capital Reserve, and $2,525,940 from the local government fiscal framework grant. Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Wagstaff, for your work on this. All right, we are going to go to council committee reports. We are going back to May the 7th. So please queue up if you are ready to go. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
The only thing I have to report is May 13th, Committee of the Whole. All my meetings are coming up this week.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Who's next? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thank you. On May 9th, I attended the Town of Edson Community Cleanup, and on May 13th, the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you. Councillor Posichny.
Sorry, I wasn't 100% ready. I did attend the on the May 7th Town Safety Day. On May the 8th, I attended the laying of the reef on behalf of the mayor for VE Day at the Legion. And that is my report.
Are you sure?
No, but I have a lot of stuff in my calendar that I'm trying to go through. So,
All right. Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
On May 7th, I attended the Town Safety Day to thank our amazing town staff for their incredible work that they've done over the past year. I was happy and proud to make a speech that day that hopefully everyone will expunge from their brains. Because I had to cover for Councillor Position, and as soon as I was done the speech, Councillor Position walked in. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's great. On May 12th, I attended an FCSS meeting where we sort of looked at our strategic plan and made updates to that. And just a quick mention on if you've seen advertised about the Men's Shed program. That's a program that FCSS is promoting. There are about 15 to, I think there's 24 members on the list. There's 15 people that are regularly involved. And it's going to, they've got a variety of ideas of where it's going, and FCSS is just facilitating the process. But if you're interested in wanting more information on the Men's Shed, please reach out to our FCSS team because it's turning out to be a pretty cool program. May 13th, Committee of the Whole, and May 14th, a Homelessness Task Force Executive Meeting, and that's my report.
Councillor Moore.
On May 7th, I attended the Town Safety Luncheon. Town Cleanup, I participated in that on May 9th. There was a lot of trash talk going on and picking up as well. Committee meeting on May 13th, May 14th, chamber meeting. 226 trade show is being planned for the Edson Rodeo Grounds, the indoor arena where a lot of it will take part. And May 16th, the grand opening of Graham Sports in the old Honda location, and quite the store. And I attended on May 17th a photo exhibit at the Galloway Museum featuring rare photographs from 1900 to 1920, and lots of exciting history was distilled at that time.
You see some pictures of Councillor Posichny there?
Not that I recall.
Thank you. Because I missed the last meeting, I'm going to go back a little further. April the 24th, meeting with Alberta municipalities on the Bill 50 review. YCE meeting on April the 28th. On April the 29th, I had a meeting with the Port of Prince Rupert. Of course, we are an economic corridor here in Edson. A lot of traffic from here goes to Prince Rupert. And looking at opportunities on how to better support and what is needed in our area to support the transport of goods into Prince Rupert. And I mentioned our highway, and other mayors commented, yes, Edson's highway is really bad. They need to do something about that. So stay tuned. Hopefully there will be an announcement here very soon on that. YCE on April the 29th, Attraction Retention Committee meeting on April the 30th. Another Attraction Retention Committee meeting on May 12th to talk about the Healthcare Heroes, which we had the presentation here today. Committee of the Whole on the 13th. Another meeting regarding healthcare in the community on the 15th. On May 15th as well, I attended the Economic Developers Association Economic Recovery and Resilience review. They were in the area talking about how the wildfires and floods and everything has impacted our region, and with Ms. Roberts from Economic Development. Some really good discussion there on some of the struggles. And I think that we don't necessarily realize that the fires in Jasper, while horrific for that community, also impacted Hinton and Edson greatly because we lost a lot of traffic through our community for some time. We still see that today, and that impacts many of our businesses along the highway. Good discussion on that. And then May 16th, great to see a new local business in town, locally owned and operated, Graham Sports. I hope that our community supports them and ensures that they are successful in this community. Was interesting chatting with Nick at that opening. He has customers coming from Hinton, customers that are traveling out to the West Coast, picking up supplies and that sort of thing. So I hope to see, and I know we have some other openings planned here in the next few weeks of some new businesses. I hope to see that continue. It's certainly a struggle right now in the retail sector, and we need to do everything we can to support local. And that's why it's great to see the YCE project supporting many local companies as well. With that, we will move on to information items. Can I get a motion, please? The council accept the May 9th, 2025 information items as set out in attachments 1, 2, 3 for information. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get a motion, please, that council accept the May 20th, 2025 information item letter from Minister of Municipal Affairs regarding Bill 50, the Municipal Affairs Statutes Amendment Act as information. Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make it so.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. And I do going to put CO Beverage on the spot here regarding Bill 50. I didn't catch if they made any of the amendments that the minister was talking about regarding reporting to council from the CAO on natural persons powers. Have you seen any updates regarding that?
Ms. Mayor, I haven't.
Okay, thank you. And we also have a new Minister of Municipal Affairs. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. We have no notices of motion, no businesses arising from closed. Can we go into the closed meeting session? Yeah, that should be after. Can we go into closed session, please? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that the meeting move into closed session pursuant to Section 24 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Councillor Bevan and Councillor Thank you, and we will call this meeting adjourned.